All right, on to number 4 of the draft analysis for NCPL's Commander Draft Tournament. Um, just a short recap of how I do these. I analyze a team based on 5 different attributes: offense, defense, speed, hazards, and momentum. Each total out of 10, and a total score at the bottom. And that's as easy as it gets. Today, helping me out will be Chris and Josh. They're also part of NCPL, and I think they do a lot of homework when they're versing an opponent. So I really value their critique when they come in here. So yeah, I hope you guys do as well. All right, let's get started with the offense here. I did score his team a 36 and a half. You guys are probably like, holy fuck, how would you rate his team a 36 and a half when he's one of the best players in NCPL?
We're not looking at the player here. We're looking at the team.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect response there. So yeah, give me your guys' initial thoughts on his offense. What do you guys think?
The Rorus with the Arctozolt. Bolt banded banded bolt beak. You don't have a ground type.
Yeah,
you're done for. Heck, even like a magnet or something dumb like that just to boost it.
Yeah,
and he has awkward stabs. He has awkward stabs, so like if you bring in a ground type, you can just predict that.
Either ice beam or freeze dry.
Yeah, no, or ice punch or something. Whatever physical ice move he gets, icicle crash. I don't know what he gets.
Yeah, well, I mean, he can run blizzard too, since hail will be up, right? And the 120 blizzard will probably be stronger than some of the other ice stabs.
I disagree.
I do agree though that Bolt Beak in a low tier draft like this with Slush Rush is going to be really hard to fight against if you don't have a resist, a Volt Absorb, ground or motor drive, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
What about you, Josh?
So.
I agree with everything you guys said so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the thing with Jonas's offense is it's not like too sneaky. There isn't gonna be something that's gonna be too surprising. I mean, there's a couple things on his team, but for the most part, his offense is gonna be very pivoting, momentum, really trying to find an opportunity to get that Arctozolt in. And
yeah, exactly.
Outside of that, there's nothing really too sneaky. I mean, you could say the Koffagrigus Nasty Plot setup or Calm Mind, or the Silvally setup, but again, the Silvally setup should be definitely thought about on everybody's matchups, considering how we've seen Silvally set up and do really well, especially in week 1.
I agree.
So, I scored it an 8. See, I wanted to score this less because I don't think his team is very offensive. I mean, he has Arctozolt, he has Moltres, who is strong, he has Serena, who also has high base attack, Cobalion, but the thing is those potentially other offensive threats are more or less going to be in there trying to get Arctozolt in. I feel like that is the win con of his team in most scenarios.
Oh, I agree, but I don't know. Cobalion also, I think it's a sleeper captain. He's bulky. He actually has surprisingly high attack. He has good pivot. Like, you bring you swords dance that guy. You bring a bulk up. You can't toxic it. I guess you can try and burn it, but you bring in a subset. Can't burn it.
Yep.
That one is sleeper.
That one is definitely kind of sneaky, I guess. I would say. With the swords dance, if people aren't prepping properly or scouting it, that could definitely be a problem with its. I think it's base 90 speed too, which is pretty good. Or no, not 90. Sorry. Yeah, it's 346 is what it adds up to. I know. Let me check 80? What that 95? Base is. No, that's higher than that.
No.
Jesus Christ. Let's see. What is that? Cobalion base speed 108. Yeah, so I mean that's
there it is.
That's pretty high in this draft, I'd say. There's not going to be much in either division that's going to be so much faster. So, but I like I said, aside from that, that's basically what I see his offense doing. Yeah, not much more to say. Watch out for the Arctozolt. I think that's going to be the key point of his offense. I do expect him to get tricky, like Chris was bringing up with Cobalion being a sleeper offensive Pokemon. I do expect him to get tricky, especially with a season that's going to be as long as this one. I don't think
definitely.
I don't think he's going to be able to do the Arctozolt every single game.
Yeah, the thing with Arctozolt is if he brings Arctozolt, he has to bring that Auroras. Like,
Yeah.
I suppose you could not bring Auroras,
Yeah.
but then you can bring Cofagrigus with Trick Room. I believe Cofagrigus gets Trick Room.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
it
you
does.
can do that. So, but then you kind of expect like, oh, if Auroras isn't there, I mean, you could bring Bro,
Yeah.
bring both, but it's kind of like you'd have to predict. But
Yeah.
once you get it, then you know one of them is not a threat.
Mm-hmm. I do feel like
Like-
that is a big deterrent on his team. If he is using Slush Rush often, it's always going to take up 2 slots on his team.
Yeah. And then
And-
that's 2 ground weaknesses.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is those 2 coming together, they're both weak to ground, which is
And fighting and rocks.
yeah. So let's since we're getting into that right now, we can get into his defense, which surprisingly, I scored an 8. Now I'm not gonna expose every single thing about
I'll
His-
expose it.
his defense or any other person's team, but there is some glaring weaknesses to his defense. But the good stuff about his defense is, I mean, he has Moltres. Moltres is a tier 4
Yeah.
pick. Why I have
Yeah,
no
most
idea.
of them obnoxious.
Yeah, why I have
Yeah.
no idea. It deters people from knocking it off because flame bodies. So, if you can't knock off those heavy duty boots, this thing is going to be chipping you. It's going to be U-turning. It's going to be doing whatever the hell it wants and surviving all game if you don't have rock moves.
Yeah, definitely. You get to tease people with the Fire Spin Toxic as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, Moltres has a lot of options with it. I mean, Tailwind. It's got Defog. It's got Flamethrower. It's got Scorching Sands. U-turn. So, and then to cover that rock weakness, I mean, he's got Cobalion, Serena. I mean, he could even use Odino to, swap in with Regenerator, swap out, play some mind games.
Yeah, no.
I think his team is pretty bulky on the defensive end.
Yeah. Savali, base 95s all around. Cofagrigus, I think Cofagrigus actually has base like 140 defense.
Yeah, it's really high.
He has like low HP, but like that's still a lot of defense.
Yeah.
I think Auroras might as well. I mean, he's a rock type, I'd assume so. I think Serena. I think Serena as well.
Serena has good defenses. Auroras doesn't. Auroras just has high HP.
Oh, what a trash man.
But Odino has decent defenses, high HP, Regenerator.
Yeah.
Like you said, Cofagrigus has high defense. Cobalion has really high defense, base 126. I mean, overall, his whole team is pretty bulky, whether it's in HP or defenses. The issue with his defense, though, lies in the shared weaknesses. Like Chris was saying earlier, the earthquakes, the rocks, and fighting type moves. I expect Jonas to play very prediction based to make sure he doesn't get to make sure there isn't a Pokemon that's covering double weaknesses. He's going to be probably utilizing Protect at some point in the season just to make sure people aren't double covering.
Yeah, I agree. Like his that Silvally pickup. Oh my god, that should have been my Silvally fairy. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That was a great pickup because it covers fighting.
Yeah.
It covers fighting, which is glaring. And fighting types are so versatile in what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like they usually get rock moves. They get like the elemental punches. They get like Mach Punch.
They get
steel moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get a lot of stuff. So that fairy, such a strong deterrent, and it should have been mine. Like I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
I'm still mad about that.
Yeah. I mean,
So if I lose, like
if I
it's
lose,
on him.
it's because Jonas.
Like Robin would have lost if I had that Savali fairy.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Switching into an outrage would have been good.
Oh, definitely. Oh, I didn't even think about that. All right, you know what? Now Jonas definitely cost me that game. All right.
But like Chris is saying, it's great to cover that fighting type, and the fact that fighting types get a lot of coverage. Usually, fighting types are carrying knockoff as well. I don't even know if there is a fighting type that doesn't learn knockoff. So the thing, like Chris was referring to, is while Cofagrigus can cover fighting moves, he is prone to knockoff, and he does have high defense and Will-O-Wisp, but the problem is, and Mummy, which we can talk about in a second here, is he probably doesn't want Rodriguez to get leftovers knocked off or just take a huge amount of damage. So the Silvally Fairy is great because it can cover the knockoff, it can probably tank a rock slide, no problem. It can cover the close combat. It really, I think, sealed up his defense, and a lot of the reason why the score is 8. I feel like if the Silvally Fairy or a Fairy type in general was not there, I feel like his defense with all these shared weaknesses would have a really hard time coming together.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like, it's like one-sided, but it's not. Like, it's weird.
It's very strange, because it looks like there's all these enormous weaknesses, and then you see him play in week 1, and it looks like his team really doesn't have a lot of weaknesses.
Exactly. So
you know, like we said in other videos, there's more than just these 5 things that I'm scoring to performing well in the draft. I mean, Jonas is a great player, and he can make teams like this do well based on his playstyle. So, but like we were saying earlier, the Mummy is really great aspect to his defense as well, cutting off a lot of offensive threats with guts and stuff like that. It's going to be really, really annoying. I think earlier this week in a different battle, I did see Mummy shut down a Guts Obstagoon, which, I mean, you think about it, you're usually running Guts with a Flame Orb, right? So
yeah.
They take the Mummy, they lose the Guts, now they're burned, now they're fucked for, I mean, when they're out there. Yeah. So they're forced to switch, and then, you know, Rodriguez gets a free switch or a free move or whatever he wants to do, right?
Free T-Spikes, free Paint Split, free anything, free Will-O-Wisp.
An overall very annoying Pokemon.
Yeah, not for sure.
So, his defense being an 8, I'd say, you know, he's around above average right now, but I scored his speed a 6.5. His speed is very bad. Aside from...
it's like Cobalion 108, and then, Silvally 95, and everything else is, like, bad?
Yeah, like, he's got 95, 90, and 108, and then everything else is very, very slow. He kind of circumvents this by having a slow Volt Switcher, Parting Shot, U-Turn on Moltres, and then Slush Rush. But the issue is, if Jonas can't get the Slush Rush up, or the opponent has some strong wall breakers, this is going to be a huge issue for Jonas's team.
Yeah, like, he could be sneaky and, like, also run, Trick Room to certain way. Like, Pythagoras could run it. I guess it's like what Leo was saying on mine. Like, you don't really want to run Trick Room on something like that, on my Runegrius, but you could still do it. I mean, I ran the Trick Room.
Yeah, exactly. He could do the exact same thing that you did. Runegrius being the solo Trick Room user, I mean, he could do the same thing with Rodriguez and set up Nasty Plot Trick Room. But the same thing with his team that is similar to your team. His team is not so slow that Trick Room is going to be really, really good for the whole team, but also not really fast enough to be like great scarfers. Aside from like maybe Serena, and I wouldn't scarf Cobalion, and then you can't scarf Silvally anyways, right? So
yeah,
I definitely think this is the worst part to Jonas's team.
Like I don't know. I think speed. I guess just my playstyle. I don't think speed's that relevant. Like it's easy to play around like speed tiers.
Yeah.
I guess that's just me.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that big of an issue as it was brought up. I mean, to each their own opinion. I just don't think it was that big of an issue. So I'm not really worried about. I wasn't really worried about speeds when I was doing my draft.
I think speed can be circumvented by the slow Volt Switch, Parting Shots, predictions. I think it can easily be washed away with things like that.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'd say for a less experienced player, a slow team is probably going to be really hard to make work.
That's fair. Yeah.
Is how I'd put it. Like I said earlier, though, his speed is circumvented with Arctozolt, having Slush Rush, Parting Shot on Silvally to get in a potentially safe switch for his Arctozolt or whoever needs to come in, and a slow Volt Switch on Lantern, and then Volt Switch on Cobalion. So I think Go ahead.
I think actually Lantern gets flip turn as well. So
Oh, it does. Let's
yeah,
see.
so it can also counter volt absorbers.
That would be really, really good for his team if they come with ground types or volt absorbers.
Yeah, this is a little diversity in a pivot move.
Let's see. Lantern. Dang, it does not get flip turn.
Oh, what a trash mon. No wonder it's in T4, T5.
T. Lantern does get some neat stuff, though.
Okay.
It's generally not going to run much outside of what it always wants to run, which is Assault Vest and Volt Switch and stuff like that, right?
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
If it did have flip turn, though, I would say that would be a really great way to make sure ground types aren't coming in for free.
Yeah, Oh well.
Next up, we have his hazards. I rated it a 7. I feel like I could have rated this lower. He does have a really, really reliable rocker is in Cobalion, and he also has rocks on Aurorus as well. The issue is I feel like if he runs rocks on Cobalion, it kind of sets Cobalion up to, be a defensive Pokemon rather than an offensive Pokemon.
Well, I mean, you could bait it. Like, Cobalion leads are pretty standard. You could set up rocks and then think it's a setup one.
Think of Volt Switch is coming and then you Swords Dance.
Yeah, you Swords Dance or you set up a sub and you're like, a sub.
Yeah,
and
sub. Yeah, definitely. I could see that.
You get a bulk up or a Swords Dance and you're in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, especially with his speed tier and bulk.
And you still have rocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't get the favorable lead, there's that. The Aurorus could be a lead, but pretty prone to fighting.
I feel like if Aurorus and Cobalion both come, I feel like it's a really good indication that Cobalion's probably going to be offensive. I want to say.
Maybe, but I mean, you could also be running really bulky stuff.
That's true. You could just come with bulk offense. I just feel like if they share the same weaknesses, which they do, I feel like having them both defensive and weak to the same thing would be really bad for if a wall breaker was coming.
Yeah. And then hazard removal, he has a spinner and 2 defoggers?
Yeah, a spinner and 2 really reliable defoggers in Moltres and Silvally, and then the spinner being Serena. So while reliable, I feel like, if both of them are coming, he could run defog on both. I do think that would be really good for his team, because his team really does not want hazards up. Once hazards go up, I feel like his team has to turtle a bit and get the hazards off the field. Because his team is so heavily based on momentum and getting Arctozolt in, I feel like once rocks go up, it slows his team down dramatically. Yeah. On his side of the field, what I'm referring to.
No, definitely. So that's why, I'd imagine he's probably going to make a trade this week or next week. Actually, I think trades might be closed for today.
Our trades are open till tomorrow, right? Tuesday 12 a.m.
Are they open till tomorrow?
I think Tuesday 12 a.m.
Tuesday 12 a.m. Isn't that tonight then?
Yeah, tonight, tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Alright, so let's see, like 4 hours at the time of recording this, so. Yeah. But regardless, I think it's bound to happen. Yeah. Maybe get rid of that Silvally.
Maybe get rid of that Silvally. I do agree, though. I expect him to make earlier trades than what we're used to seeing Jonas do. Just because, like we were mentioning earlier, there's a lot of shared weaknesses, and Pokemon that do the same thing, that share the same weakness. So I feel like he could have something to kind of clean up that weakness a bit and not put so much pressure on Silvally Fairy in particular. But last up is, I think, the best trait to Jonas's team, and one of the hardest traits that people are going to have with, especially maybe the less experienced players, is his momentum.
Wait.
Yeah?
Sunday, do you have anything you want to say?
Well, to go over it, like what you guys have already gone over, it's like in terms of his defense and offense, I feel like he had, like, what you guys are saying, he does have a lot of shared weaknesses, but he always has the option to set up an Aurora Veil. And I feel like with the ability to pivot around that he has, he can really utilize, even if he's going against the weaknesses, he can set up with a lot of mons, even Cuffagrius, if he really wanted to make a Calm Mind one.
Totally forgot about that. That is a great point.
Yeah,
I even have it. I have it circled on my notes. I totally missed it. That's a really great point, though. Yeah, that really helps out those shared weaknesses. And
what a cheater!
Allows him to switch in more freely for sure. I see. Do you think that's something that he has to bring every time now, though, Josh?
I imagine if he plans on using a Slush Rush or possible setup on something like Cabellion for that game, yeah, I can see him bringing it in.
Definitely that Slush Rush, and the Dracozolt will probably be guaranteed to live one hit.
Yeah. And from if there's a single threat, the Dracozolt can probably get rid of it himself if he can take one hit.
Yeah, that's a really phenomenal point to make. That really helps out those shared weaknesses. If Dracozolt can do that too and take out a big threat to the team, that just opens up a whole bunch of different avenues for his team.
Yeah. Oh damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's great offensively and defensively.
Oh, dude. Aurora's.
Dang. Yeah, no, I totally missed that on my notes here. And I even have it circled. Jesus Christ. What the hell am I doing over here? So,
dude, it happens.
With his momentum, though, I feel like that also helps his momentum. I mean, he's going to be able to U-turn, Volt Switch, kind of Parting Shot. I mean, the Parting Shot and Aurora Veil is going to be extremely annoying when he does bring them both.
Oh, definitely. Oh, that's a big thing.
Yeah, because like you think you're gonna EQ, Moltres goes down. Let's say you think you're gonna EQ the rest of his team because the only thing that's gonna resist it is Serena, and then he Parting Shots and Aurora Veils, and you go to EQ the Arctozolt, and it does like maybe half, probably not, and then Arctozolt's ready to one hit you.
Yeah,
that'd be a big issue.
Yeah, that'd definitely be a big issue, but. With all the momentum that he has a lot of momentum.
Yeah, I mean every Pokemon on his team almost, except 4, which I mean 4 out of 5 or 4 out of 9. So he has 5 other Pokemon that help with momentum. I mean that's a lot in a low tier draft like this to have bulky momentum like that. And that's the thing too. The momentum is from bulkier Pokemon: Moltres, Serena, Cobalion, Lantern, and Silvally. All of those help get Arctozolt in, or help chip down damage, or if you're bringing Cofagrigus in, they all help that.
Yeah.
I think it'll be definitely the biggest point to his team, alongside the Arctozolt offensively. I think the momentum, the Veil, and the Arctozolt. This is the weird thing though. We've seen his week 1 game, and he didn't set up Aurora Veil, and he still made it work. So,
just the versatility, just things you have to watch out for. Like it's one-sided, but it's not. Like you can be sneaky about it. Yeah. That's what's cool about these low-tier drafts, because no one really knows about them.
Yeah.
So
you can flex like you're gonna bring Aurora Veil, and then you don't bring Aurora Veil, and your team's built to deal with it. And then your team's a bit too passive because you doing so much to make sure Aurora Veil isn't up, and then he just blasts you with Arctozolt and just strong chip damage from his defensive threats. Because that's the thing too, is defensive threats, they all hit pretty hard. I mean, Moltres, Serena, Cobalion, Silvally.
Yeah, but then like you can have, oh my god, like, I didn't even think about this, but I'm pretty sure Arctozolt gets hustle. Does he get hustle? Or I don't have to look at it.
I think that's.
I know Dracozolt gets. I'm gonna be mad. I gotta check.
He gets Volt Absorb and Static, which I still think are.
Oh, that's trash. Never mind.
The Volt Absorb is not too bad, because he could flex like like we were saying. He could flex like he's bringing Slush Rush and Aurora Veil, and then instead of bringing the Slush Rush, he brings Volt Absorb, and people think they're gonna just thunderbolt everything because he doesn't have a volt absorber besides lantern, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's fair.
you could flex like you're gonna come in with the lantern, and then you come in with the volt absorb Arctizolt, choice scarf Arctizolt or something like that, and you bolt beak. It's still gonna do a lot of damage if he goes first.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah.
Right. Not to mention, Arctizolt also has other options to his offense as well. I mean, he's got decent coverage. Freeze dry. He's got icicle. Was it? Yeah, icicle spear to make sure focus sashes are not intact. He also has Iron Tail, low kick, stomping tantrum, rock slide. What else do we got here? That's it. But I still think that's pretty good. And I think he will need to get creative like that. I don't think he can bring Slush Rush every single game.
I agree, but it's like it's there, but it's always going to be a threat. So you have to
prepare.
For it. Yeah, I guess that's a good thing about it. You have to prepare for it. If not, you're getting 6-0'd.
Yeah, it's like you guys were both saying. It's very one-sided, but not at the same time. You're always gonna have to prep for those huge glaring threats on his team: Aurora Veil, Arctizolt, and the Cobalion, of course. But at the same time, if he doesn't bring those things, or if he brings them in a different combination that we're thinking, it tends to get difficult at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
But overall, I think 36.5 is a good score. I think his team could be higher if he had some mons that could clean up that speed tier a little bit. Maybe a trade for Lantern or something like that, since Lantern kind of will do the same thing that Cobalion will do, minus the fact that he has Heal Bell, but then Serena also has Aromatherapy, so I do expect some earlier trades from him. I'll be surprised if there isn't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
you might want to trade it, see how far it gets him before other weaknesses are exposed, and then maybe But no, I guess there's no pressure to trade right away.
No,
you can play with what you have.
Especially if you take a win on the week 1, there's definitely no pressure to trade right away.
Yeah, exactly.
All I'm referring to is I think he's probably going to trade earlier than what we're used to seeing him trade. Because I think he made 1 or 2 trades late in the draft last season. Not 100%.
I think so,
but I'm pretty sure it was late in the season. But overall, 36.5. You guys, nobody's team in this group is going to be terrible. Everybody in here is extremely well experienced, competent.
Yeah.
There's nobody in here that is going to be drafting 20s or something like that. The amount of help that's in NCPL as well, I just feel it's impossible for somebody to draft that low.
Oh, I agree. Like, then no one's to be underestimated. You have to go into these battles expecting to have to think and make triple predictions every time.
Yeah. I mean,
so
and the other thing, guys, is these scores are not be all end all. These are just people, me, Chris, Josh, analyzing a team from our points of view. There's definitely tens of thousands of other ways you could analyze this team. And like we said before, it's not just about those 5 attributes. It's also how you play the team and how you build it, right?
Exactly.
But I really appreciate you, Chris and Josh, for coming out and giving you guys' thoughts on the team.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll see you guys on another one.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I'll catch you guys soon.
All right, peace out.